Okay guys, today we're going to be observing how chemical reactions affect the atoms in a substance. So before we get started, I want you to go to the classwork labeled Lesson 2 Chemical Reactions Classwork, and I want you to answer question 1. How will you know if there is a chemical reaction happening? There's no right or wrong answer. This is just to get your brain thinking. So I want you to pause the video and go to question 1 and answer. How will you know if there's a chemical reaction happening? Pause the video and then come back. Okay. Next, we're going to start using the simulation tool on Amplify to start observing how substances combine together and what happens to them. So looking at question number 2, what two substances were combined together at first? So let's add H2O and sodium. So water and sodium. Let's add those together and let's see what happens to the molecules. Observe as they're combining what is happening. Let's watch it one more time. Notice there's an H2O molecule, H2O, sodium, and sodium. Let's watch what happens quickly. Okay, let's take a look at the results. Okay, before we move on to the results, I want you to pause the video and answer question 2. What are the two substances that were combined together? Okay, so we added water, H2O, and sodium, Na, together, and we're going to see what happened. When we added water and sodium together, they created two new substances called sodium hydroxide and hydrogen. Okay, so when we combine chemicals, the initial substances that we use, so for example, water and sodium, those are called our reactants. They're the initial substances we use to create a chemical reaction. Now we have these two new substances that are called products. They are the result of the reactants being combined together, and we get two new products, sodium hydroxide and hydrogen. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to go back to the classwork and answer question 3. What happened after combining the two substances together? Pause the video and come back. Okay, so we can see after combining water and sodium, we got two brand new substances, sodium hydroxide and hydrogen. Okay, now we're going to start thinking about the next question. Let's reset. Question number 4 says, what happens when we combine sodium chloride, NaCl, with sodium carbonate? So let's add those two. Sodium chloride, NaCl, or table salt, and Na2CO3, which is sodium carbonate. Let's observe what happens when those two combine together. Look carefully. You can see the sodium carbonate molecule right here, the red and purple and gray, and then you have the NaCl, the purple and green. Watch what happens as they interact with each other. Okay, let's go to our results. So I want you to think about what happened when we combined those two substances. Our reactants, or what we started with, is NaCl, sodium chloride, or table salt, and sodium carbonate, Na2CO3. Now, what are our products? You'll notice that we also have sodium chloride and sodium carbonate. So what happened when these two substances interacted with one another? Did they change or did they stay the same? Pause the video and go back to the classwork and answer question number 4 in complete sentences. Okay, so we noticed that sodium chloride and sodium carbonate do not mix. They do not cause a chemical reaction, so nothing new was created. They stayed exactly the same. Now let's think about what would happen if we only had one substance in a chemical reaction. We know that a chemical reaction is one or more molecules interacting with one another, right? But what if we only have one substance, right? We've seen multiple substances combined together from the EdPills that we watched a few days ago. Let's see what happens if we only have water in our lab simulation here. I'm going to pause this really quickly before anything happens. I want you to just take a guess and pause the video and go to number 5. Explain what you think might happen if we put H2O in the sim without combining it with any other substance. Do you think anything will happen? There's no right or wrong answer. Explain what you think might happen. Pause the video and then come back. Okay, let's watch what's happening to those H2O molecules. Watch it again. We have H2O and H2O. What happened to the substances? Let's look at our results. Okay, so our reactant was H2O, or water. Our products, what happened was the hydrogen separated from the oxygen. So if you pause the video, go to number 6, H2O was not combined with any other substance. Explain what happened. And then answer question 7. Is it possible for a chemical reaction to occur with only one substance?